This is the last Intoxicated Podcast episode of the year 2025, Sheri. And it's also the last episode where, listeners, you will hear that intro song that you just heard and the outro song at the end because we got some new music. We bought the music rights to the song titled Goose Song by Heliotrope. Our son and his friends, their band, out of Fort Collins, Colorado. It's a great song. You know, obviously we are a little jaded. That's not the right word. That has a negative connotation, right? We're biased because it's our own child. Mm-hmm. But it is a great song. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've listened to it easily over 100 times because, for one thing, I'm trying to boost their hits on Spotify because that's just the kind of person I am. But I love that song. And I just pop in the earbuds, put it on repeat, and do whatever it is I'm doing. And it's really great, and I want to recommend it to anyone. And you will soon, if you are an avid Intoxicated Podcast listener, you'll be hearing part of it every week. What I want to talk about, when you and I recorded the overdub, the words that went on top of the music to introduce the podcast, it was like it was meant to be. And I love like serendipitous, divine intervention, karma, whatever you want to call it. We recorded the piece that we were going to read, and then when we pasted it over the top of the music, things happened. Like right when you said something impactful, there's this big cymbal crash. Bam, 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 bam. It's 4 in a row. And it just happened to line up. I didn't have to maneuver to get it that way. That was so cool. Wasn't that cool?
You mean you didn't spend all day figuring out when to cut and add and
I mean, it did take me a long time to do the editing process in general, but
okay.
There were things that just happened that I was like, whoa, didn't see that coming. It was pretty fantastic, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
I know when we were sitting here and you were with me because you had just read the thing and I'd paste it together and I'd be like, let's listen to it real quick. You were not as excited as I was about how the timing was just magically happening that way.
You and I can be allowed to get excited about different things. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was not something you were
I mean,
excited
that
about.
sort of techie geek stuff, that gets you all excited. And I mean, I like the song. I haven't listened to it nearly as much as you have, but you knew that, there were parts that you wanted to just work out, and they did. And so that was pretty cool to watch you get all excited.
The music is great. I love Gail, the lead singer. I love her voice. She's got there's a part where she says the words calm down, which I think is so appropriate. One of the things I love about our choice in music is it's not just a good song. The lyrics really apply to our listening audience. There's nothing that the partner of an alcoholic likes least than being told to calm down.
Oh, or relax.
Relax. Oh, yeah, that's a good one too.
Those are right at the same level.
But if you listen to the song, when she says calm down, she's got a real deep, raspy vibrato. It's the only time in the song she does that. Calm down like that. It's so good. Mm-hmm. It's so good. And we also have that highlighted just by karma, so that really stands out. And I want to draw our listeners' attention to the opening line of the song. The very first words she speaks are, "I'd rather let you go than lose me too." If that isn't what this is all about, that's what detachment, individual recovery, prioritizing yourself, getting your own nervous system in order. If you're on my side of it, finding sobriety, doing the recovery work, getting your self-esteem and self-confidence back, so that you can then, if you get yourself healthy, you can interact with another human in a way where the connection feels healthy. That line says so much. I'd rather let you go than lose me too. These are 22-year-old kids, 21-year-old kids that wrote this song. Mm-hmm. You and I we were not in the vicinity of understanding this kind of stuff when we were their age. We were drinking and having sex and trying to live a carefree existence and trying to pass our classes and show up to work almost on time and survive. And it was just party lifestyle, balls to the walls. These guys are writing a song that has deep meaning to the lyrics.
Well, this
That's
generation
crazy.
has seen a lot for their young lives. You know?
Yeah.
Like, they've had to go through some shit.
They've been through some shit.
This Gen Z generation's got some shit on their boots. They know.
Are you a Gen Xer giving some love?
I do appreciate a lot of
to the
Gen
Zers?
Zers. I think they're deep thinkers. I think they've really had to go through some stuff. I think that they're going to, I mean, obviously they're the future, but they're also, I think, going to be most of them are going to be the change makers. I think a lot of these are going to be change makers. I mean, I look at our kids and their friends, and I don't look at them like they're just, tech addicted slackers.
I keep waiting for our kids to fuck up the way I did, and I just don't see it.
These are all like students who are going to graduate in May and hold, intense degrees that they're working on, as well as doing this, because this is how they would rather spend some of their free time, being creative and having a creative outlet, than sitting around smoking pot, playing on their phones.
Yeah.
Or drinking now that they're all 21, and over.
They're very impressive.
Yeah.
Well, I encourage our listeners, you'll hear the song as our intro and outro, but I encourage you to listen to it just on your own. Goose Song by Heliotrope. Check it out on Spotify. They're having trouble getting the lyrics to show on Spotify, so if you send me an email, I will send you a link to the lyrics on their website. My email is matt@soberandunashamed.com. Because I think, her voice is awesome, but you can't understand everything she's saying. So at least I can't.
I can't either, because I'm a Gen Zer.
Listened to it 100 times.
I'm a Gen Zer, so I'm
Gen
admitting.
Xer.
I mean, a Gen Xer. I know I can't.
Yeah.
I can't hear music anymore and hear the words. Yeah. It's not that I'm going.
We're used to grunge bands with mouths full of marbles singing at us. We never even tried to listen to the words.
We never even tried. Eddie Vedder, sorry. Never even attempted to listen to your lyrics.
Yeah. So send us an email if you'd like the lyrics. I have to say, this is a major upgrade from the other song that we were attempting to get. We were working through some music agency, I don't know. I felt like we were going to get ripped off, but we were trying to buy the rights to an Iron Maiden song.
I only said that out of jest.
I was pretty into it.
And you ran with it.
I really wanted that song, but I'm so glad that instead of that, we got Goose Song by Heliotrope. Listeners, please give it a listen and listen to the lyrics. Last week on episode 327, we talked about the impact of alcohol on the holidays. This week, it's kind of part 2 in a 2-part series. In this last episode of 2025, we're going to talk about the lingering impact when the alcohol is gone. It's arguably worse because there's no tangible solution. When the thing that's causing you trauma and nervous system dysregulation and embarrassment and shame and causing your kids to go behind closed doors and not feel comfortable speaking their mind, when the thing that's causing all of that is alcohol, you think and assume the solution is sobriety. Whether you're willing to go there or not, that's a whole nother, issue. But the solution seems so tangible. Just quit drinking. And as you and I have preached for years now, sobriety is nothing but a prerequisite. It doesn't actually solve anything. So when you're in the state that we're talking about this week, the lingering impact once the alcohol is gone, there is no tangible solution. It's not just right there in front of you, go do this thing. It might be hard, but do it and things will be fixed. The only thing is time and consistency. And time and consistency, we're not talking in weeks or months, we're measuring that in years. And that feels like no solution at all. Now, you and I have learned it's absolutely a great solution, but you have to be willing to put in the time and make all the effort to stay consistent over that time. And if you do that, you can have the kind of awesome sauce Christmases like you and I have now. And holidays in general. We're coming up on New Year's, of course. And Thanksgiving was great. You can have wonderful experiences, but you gotta put in the time. It kind of is like prison. When I say it that way, it sounds like prison. And truth is, it kind of is. You did the crime, you gotta serve the time. which is completely unfair if you're the partner. Can you speak to that to start with, Sheri? What does that feel like when you realize, okay, he's sober, it still sucks? Is there a sense of hopelessness, like it'll never get better, and I didn't do anything to begin with?
Yeah, for sure. You're sitting there going, well, I thought it was supposed to be better. Well, and for me, I can say I was very gullible thinking it was going to get better after you quit drinking, because, I mean, we've talked about my 40th birthday many times on the podcast, and I remember our conversation / argument that dragged to home when I said we have so many other problems besides the drinking, because you kept like saying, I'm going to quit drinking and that's going to solve everything. And you had said that for many, many argument post conversations. So I had kind of been sucked into that hopefulness that getting alcohol removed from your system, pardon me, would really alleviate a lot of the negative feelings that were still lingering. And then when you get through like that first year of sobriety, when there's all the chemical work that needs to be done in the brain for the drinker, and then just, you know, as the partner, you're still like on high anxiety because you don't know if they're going to start drinking again, or you know. And then for me, I just was like, I didn't like you the last several years, and I still don't like you. And am I ever going to like you? Did I waste my time? Should I have just should I have ended the relationship years ago and started building a better life? Or do I know it now and then I look like a jerk because he's quit drinking, but things still aren't really any better, and he's still trying to convince me that there are all these things that I need to do? Because I think a lot of partners don't understand that the work that they need to do in recovery. And it doesn't necessarily mean like going to a 12-step program and, you know, and claiming your codependence as your downfall. I mean, I think that there's a lot of self-esteem and nervous system regulation that you need to get back into play. It's not just attending a meeting and reciting some mantras. I don't want to like bash Al-Anon, but there's a lot more work that needs to be done than just that. Because your own body chemistry and brain chemistry have changed. So then like the understanding, God, I have to do work too. This just seems so daunting. It'd be easier to start over.
It took me 10 years to get sober, 10 years of long periods of sobriety and long periods of drinking. My relapses were almost never just like little one-offs, like what other people would call slips. I don't like that term. If you drink, it's a relapse. But I didn't have just one night or one weekend relapses. When I relapsed, I made the commitment that I was going to try to find a way to keep alcohol in my life and be a moderate drinker. Never worked. But there were certain things that would trigger that. Like we had in the industry that we were in, there was a big industry convention that was very, very booze centric. And there were a couple of times when we were getting ready to go to that, I would tell you, I've decided I'm going to drink again, because I just couldn't handle going through it sober. Were the holidays, and specifically the Christmas holiday, was that one where you would hold your breath leading up to it thinking, oh my God, he's going to tell me he's decided to drink again because he just loves eggnog that much? Was that one of the anxieties that you felt?
I kind of feel like anything from fall on. Like you're talking about like when you were in your first few years of sobriety.
Or even back when I was in the 10 years of sobriety and relapse and sobriety and relapse.
Generally, your longer term sobriety didn't really fall around the holidays much. I think you kind of had already like taken care of that. Like I said, I think
Good
the
point.
fall, because you had all this nostalgia for college football and falling leaves
and
Halloween and certain, like, I mean, I enjoyed like some of the, you know, October-y kind of pumpkin beers and stuff when I drank. But you like just
I didn't enjoy the pumpkin beers. That didn't mean I wouldn't drink yours when I was out.
Yeah, exactly. But you would have this pretense that there was these special things that came up that were only for the fall. And whether it was like, spiked cider or the spiked eggnog.
Isn't it shocking that I never fell victim to the pumpkin spice latte? I mean, I'm their demographic. I'm the guy who thinks the seasons have changed, so my taste buds must also. I am that guy, but not when it comes to my hatred for Starbucks, I guess.
Maybe. And also that it's pricey. You don't like that.
Yeah, I'm glad you're able to work that into every single episode. That's good. Good job, Sheri. Yeah,
well,
okay.
I'm just like, you're not their demographic because you only like black coffee, so you're not their demographic.
Well, I can't ever order it right. I say I'd like a 16 ounce, and then they tell me what that's called in Italian or something. And then...
So, anyhow.
They don't like me, and I don't like them. But, so the holidays, Christmas specifically, was not necessarily triggering from you from the standpoint that I'm about to relapse because I had already...
You had already taken care of that.
Okay, fair enough. Let's talk about the mimosas. We talked on episode 327 last week. We talked about the family tradition. We don't know where it came from, but at some point we started doing mimosas on Christmas morning. And then you and I talked before this episode, and you shared something that was very interesting to me that I didn't remember. When my first year sober, my first Christmas sober, we didn't do the mimosas, and we never did again.
We didn't even talk about it because it was your family and your parents that were here.
I was sober,
and they knew you were sober.
And they knew it was very traumatic, me getting sober.
But just like everything else, I didn't get any of the supplies for it. And nobody really talked about it. It was just under the rug. We're not going to talk about it. Nothing to see here.
And I felt a tremendous amount of guilt. Like I had taken the mimosas away from everybody. My lack of willpower, my weakness. And this is how we alcoholics often feel. I am subhuman. I am subadult. So because I can't handle it, nobody gets to have them. And I wouldn't say I felt like crushed. It was devastating. These were my parents and my wife. So these are people that have vowed support for me in sobriety. But I still felt bad. And then as time went by, I started to feel like, you know what? Those mimosas were more for me than anybody else back when we did them. Nobody seemed to care that the mimosas were gone. At least I thought. But you shared something before we started recording. You did get a comment about the mimosas once.
Yeah. Your mom came up to me and said, are we going to have mimosas? Because we had done it for enough years and the kids were getting older that we had like sparkling apple cider with orange juice for the kids. Mm-hmm. So the kids had started having mocktail mimosas. And she just thought it was a wonderful, tradition. Mm-hmm. And I know that in their house and during holidays and with your sister's side of the family, I had began to understand, mimosas were, a lot of the time. Instead of a glass of wine and, they would have a mimosa in the morning. It's a thing. Okay. There'd be mimosas in the later morning, early afternoon. And,
well, I come by it honestly then, because it was a big deal for me when they were gone.
Pardon me. So, your mom came up to me and was like, oh, so I guess there's not going to be any mimosas. And
were you kind of shocked?
I was like, no.
Your son's a self-avowed alcoholic.
And you should know all this. And I'm sorry, I'm going to support the sobriety. I don't want any alcohol in the house. But, you wanted to still offer having alcohol in the house for your parents, and I would have just been as happy to say no alcohol. And if you can't handle a sober house, then don't bother coming. But I let you lead the charge on this because I felt like you needed to have some ownership and accountability and let us know how you felt about drinking, of others drinking. But I certainly wasn't going to have mimosas, and I wasn't going to go out and buy the supplies for it.
It's so interesting how the further I get away from other people's drinking impacting me, right now where I am, I think I'm just about coming up. I'm just weeks away from 9 years of sobriety. Where I am now, I couldn't care less who is drinking, what, where, when, why. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't trigger me. It doesn't anger me. Other than
your children,
you and yes, my children, who 2 of them are drinking age, and they do drink what seems to be moderately and responsibly to me. That does worry me. It does bother me. All of that. But other people, it doesn't bother me, including my parents. It's so interesting, though, and I think this is relatable to a lot of alcoholics. Early on, because of what I said here, I was taking the mimosas away from everybody else. I didn't want to be the reason other people couldn't drink. So it was very important to me that we bought gin for my father, and we bought beer, and we bought wine for when my parents came to visit, because I didn't want them to be inconvenienced by my alcoholism. And I think that's a way that a lot of people think and feel. Now, I have definitely shifted to the point where I don't care if they go and buy it when they come and visit, but I'm not buying it for them.
And that's been my take too. I mean, I will give them the keys to the car. I will drive them and go get it for them. But I don't want to spend my money supplying something
you're so cheap.
I know.
I hear you squeak.
But I don't want to spend my money on an intoxicant, on a carcinogen. I just don't. I don't want to encourage that sort of behavior. I wouldn't go buy anybody meth. I wouldn't spend money on cigarettes for somebody. I don't want them to smoke in my house. I'm not going to spend the money on the cigarettes. So I just feel like it's in that classification.
My mother drinks very little, if at all now. My father, he's still just like he has my whole life. He drinks every day. I almost never see him cross the line into intoxication. Sometimes he gets a little louder and he repeats his stories, typical stuff, but he almost never gets out of control. What is interesting, and we're getting off topic here a little bit, but what's interesting is when we visit them, his pattern is very steady, like it's been my entire life. When he comes here, though, he downshifts significantly.
Yeah.
So if you were to say, listen, we are an alcohol-free house, that's just how it's going to be, he'd be like, no problem, and he wouldn't have a problem.
Right.
He wouldn't be jonesing for it. He wouldn't be biting his fingernails. It's bizarre to me as someone who...
Yeah, I think last year, I don't even know if we had much alcohol in the house at all, because we had just kept that bottle of gin for quite a while. And he drank on that, but
also,
he had like a couple glasses of wine when we went out. But that was
one that was really impressive to me was when we went to our daughter's graduation from college, and we had a house rented, and the whole family stayed in the house. And I think maybe if we went out to eat at a restaurant, maybe he drank once, but that was it. So he can definitely adapt to what our family is doing, and so I want to give them that level of credit, because I couldn't do that. If roles were reversed and I was still drinking, I would absolutely be like, all right, glad we're here. Can I borrow the car? And I'd be off to stock up for the week.
Mm-hmm.
So that feeling of me taking the mimosas away from everybody else, that was a guilty feeling. And that's one that I don't have at all anymore, ever at all. And that feels good. But it did take not just one Christmas, but a few Christmases to get over. I want to talk about the 9-man tent that we gave. We had just decided that we were going to get into camping as a family.
Yes, and the reason we decided we were going to get into camping is because you weren't going to be intoxicated the whole time we were camping.
So the idea of camping...
To be paranoid about the fire or unhelpful or just thinking it was a camping. Because in our younger days, you just thought camping was just a way to sleep outdoors, pass out outdoors, and drink as much as you can so you could sleep.
So you weren't encouraging camping back then. We did it rarely, if ever.
Yeah, I did not encourage camping.
But you were in on the 9-man tent that we bought, huh?
Mm-hmm.
You were ready to go.
Yeah, I wanted to do some camping because the kids were into it. I was into it. I felt like I had a partner I could trust and rely on.
Was that my first sober Christmas or second?
I don't know.
The way we told, the tent was a Santa gift, and the way we gave it to the kids. Now they were starting to get older, so it's a Santa gift, but we didn't have to worry too much about it being obvious that Santa didn't bring, I don't know, whatever. they were starting to pick up what was really being laid
the
down.
older kids, they knew. They were being really good sports for the younger two.
But we moved the dining room table out of the dining room, and we set up the 9-man tent in the middle of the dining room. We live in a little 1-story with a semi-finished basement craftsman bungalow. So small house. The tent was most of the house, a 9-man tent.
The most of the dining room for sure.
And so I was really proud as somebody who is getting his life together and starting to behave in a mature way and really focus on the wants, needs, and the joy of the kids. I was really proud of the fact that we not only gave him a cool present, but we found a cool way to give it to him, setting it up inside the house. But then something happened, and I'm going to actually need your incredible memory skills. We set it up, and that Christmas morning, I shifted hard into like depression and anxiety mode. And I don't remember if something was said, but I felt, after the tent, it's fun, let's crawl around in the tent, yay, fun. Quickly, I felt like shit about myself. I was in what I've written about many times. I call it the pit. Mm-hmm. I went into the pit. And not drinking, I just was in a total emotional relapse. Do you remember why?
I don't remember why. I mean, I guess somehow or another, maybe I was starting to feel... I feel like I was also a little bit involved in the situation of like us then asking about where are we going to eat Christmas dinner. Is it going to be up the whole, like...
Oh, because the tent was where the dining room table's supposed to be?
Yes. And the dining room table was inaccessible, like in another part of the living room. And so...
We could just eat in the parlor or the library.
Which we don't have.
Or the study.
Yeah.
Or the billiard room.
Somebody could sit on the toilet and somebody could sit in the bathtub. Like...
I'll be on the front porch.
Yeah, with a few thousand blankets. But I think that became part of it. It was because it had taken us a while to like... Because we had to like even raise the dining room light, overhead pendant light. Like we had to hook it up closer to the ceiling. So I think... You
know how much I love messing with electricity in a 115-year-old house.
I think the pressure of like, oh, we've got it up and it's fun, but like then the questioning like, well, this was cute for a moment, but now we need to get it down. And I'm sure that your parents were asking about the logistics of things when... If it had just been us 6 here, we would have been like, we'll just eat inside the tent.
We would have sat in the tent and eaten. Absolutely.
And it would have been fine and fun. And we were so proud of ourselves because the kids were just on the other side of the wall and we had set it up so quietly. And I think like our anticipation of just this is going to be so silly and funny, we thought it was great. And then I think I started to feel a little self-conscious about it because your parents were starting to get like, okay, fun's over now.
You're right. That is what
I think
it was.
Your mom would have been more in on eating inside the tent too because she's a little more playful. But I think your dad wanted to have a nice Christmas dinner like we had in the past.
I definitely, and here's what's important about that. My self-confidence, my self-esteem, my ego, it was so like crushed by my alcoholism, and I was so early in sobriety that I couldn't take a little thing. It's all coming back to me now. I couldn't take a little thing like some people actually want a table and chair to eat their dinner at without that being a huge hit to me because I had tried to create this joyful occasion. Mm-hmm. And, I think now if the exact scenario was repeated, I would blow off anyone who was, my parents included, the Pope, the president, whoever, anyone who was knocking the fact that we had gotten rid of the dining room table and replaced it with a tent. I would tell them that they need to get a better sense of humor and that this is really fun and we're going to sit in it and play board games. And, I don't care what you do with your dinner. But at the time, I couldn't. It was an affront to me that the thing I tried to do to be fun and playful had any tinge of, negativity to it. Mm-hmm. You're exactly right. And I think that's the point that I want to try to get across. We former drinkers, our skin is so thin. Our confidence is so low that it makes getting through the first few sober holiday periods really, really difficult. Did that surprise you, Sheri, that I still had the anxiety and depression? Or did it surprise you that your nervous system was being activated and you were going into fight or flight? Did that surprise you? Because you're sober. It's supposed to be better. What the hell?
Yeah, I think it surprised me because I had kind of been sucked into that belief system of like, well, I'll quit drinking and it'll all be better. I'll quit drinking and it'll all be better, when we hadn't worked through a lot of our stuff yet. And I guess it surprised me and worried me a little bit, thinking about your depression and anxiety is because you have a family history of it. And a lot of the people in your family that deal with it are on medication. And I remember thinking, is he going to have to go on medication because you really hate medication in a lot of respects? And it's not because you don't think nobody should have it, it's because you don't want to have it. So I was really worried, like, is this how it's going to be? Because he is going to resist getting medicated or seeing somebody about being medicated, and this is just going to be our life.
Yeah.
With a lot less joy and fun and levity. And the ability, when he's questioned, he just crushes. He just collapses and goes inward.
I mean, that's absolutely what it felt like. It felt like when you see a video of a building being taken down with explosives and it just goes from being 40 stories to rubble in 1 second.
Yeah,
That's how my opinion of myself was back then.
Yeah, and then if I were to say the wrong thing at the wrong time, maybe one time you could take it fine and then the next time you wouldn't take it so fine, or just the questioning. So I was always like very nervous about saying or doing or having an opinion. And I really didn't know who I was and what my opinions were and what I wanted. So it was very stressful.
I was very unsure at that time, but now I'm quite sure that our listeners are going to love the Cornish game hen failure story. That I know that they are going to stick around for that. But first, we're going to tell our listeners about our sponsors. We are supported by SoberLink. SoberLink is the premier alcohol monitoring system combining cutting-edge technology with compassionate design to support accountability in recovery and family law. Guys, let me talk directly to you for a minute. If you are like me, if you are sure that you've got this sobriety thing, you've been reading and researching about addiction, maybe you attend meetings, maybe you've assembled a toolkit of things to do when cravings strike. And if you're like me, maybe you're confident that your grit and determination will get you over the hump when all else fails. And for the most part, like me, you're probably right. But if you're like me, please consider this. It took me 10 years to get sober, a decade. Throughout that decade, I had long periods where all the stuff that I just talked about was enough to keep me sober. But then I had moments of weakness too, or times when I was totally convinced that the new rule I planned to put around my drinking would keep me moderating successfully and would let me drink like everybody else. And then there were the holidays, when nostalgia and spiked eggnog and seasonal winter porters were just too much for me to resist. 10 years. 10 years wasted. If I had SoberLink back then, I'm sure I would have made it and saved myself and my family a decade of trauma and misery.
And guys, if you're not going to do it for yourself, get SoberLink as a gift for your family. There's no alcoholic trauma that is as devastating as holiday alcoholic trauma. I know from year after year of experience. Please, it doesn't mean you aren't tough and committed if you buy a tool to help you make it. In fact, using tools to get the job done makes you smart and efficient. And it shows that you love your family more than your ego.
Right now, this holiday season, SoberLink is offering Intoxicated Podcast listeners a free offer ID valid for a $100 enrollment bonus. That's a $100 enrollment bonus for SoberLink's best-in-class service and product combination with built-in facial recognition and tamper detection, expert in-house support, emailed daily, weekly, or monthly reporting that's court admissible in all 50 states and Canada, unlimited testing days, and scheduled testing to build accountability and trust.
Claim your offer ID for a $100 enrollment bonus. There is no commitment required to claim your offer ID while this promotion lasts, and you can use your $100 enrollment bonus when you're ready to place your order. To claim your offer ID, you will only be asked to provide your name and email address. No personal details, no commitment, and no credit card number. To claim your offer ID for your $100 enrollment bonus, please go to soberlink.com/untoxicated.
We are supported by the participants in our Shout Sobriety and Echoes of Recovery think tanks. On a recent Monday, a man living in a rural setting with a woman who owns horses said, "I mended her fence, I fed her animals, and I made her breakfast. What more does she want from me?" That Wednesday, his partner said, "He fixed my fence, he fed my horses, and he made me breakfast, but he refuses to talk to me about the growing unspoken conflict between us. I can't live this way." Another man said, "I've apologized, I've gotten sober, and I'm proud of the man I've become. Why does she keep bringing up the past?" 2 days later, his wife said, "He can't take it when I bring up the trauma I've been through, and I can't stay married to a man who isn't strong enough to help me process the past. I don't need a clean slate. I need my experiences to be valid." What makes our organization unique is the exposure we have to both sides of an alcoholic partnership. Those experiences drive everything we say, everything we write, and everything we do. We learn, and then we share. And together, we all grow.
The normal flow of participation is that someone joins our Echoes of Recovery think tank for the partners of alcoholics. And once they get comfortable, they often suggest to their drinker or former drinker that they join our Shout Sobriety think tank. We honor and respect the confidences and privacy of both people. But we also facilitate growth and discovery not available in programs with a singular focus.
If you are the partner or former partner of someone whose drinking has caused you anxiety or trauma, please consider joining us in Echoes of Recovery. Once you're comfortable, maybe you will want to invite your partner to join us in Shout Sobriety. That's how it most frequently flows.
To see if you belong in Echoes of Recovery, please go to echoesofrecovery.org and take our brief introductory survey. It won't take you a minute to see if we might be a fit for each other.
That's right. That's echoesofrecovery.org. Okay, Sheri, more story time. The Cornish game hen failure.
Was that sober or not sober?
That was sober.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like Catherine fell asleep at the table and she was really, really young. Maybe that was just another failure.
Catherine fell asleep
almost every dinner.
Not this last Christmas tree day, but the one before, about 10 minutes into watching her favorite Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Catherine can fall asleep anywhere, anytime.
She's not what one would call a night owl. But we also had many, many other dinner failures during drinking day. So
this one was powerful. This one has transitioned our whole Christmas dinner setup. As we've shared, my parents come to visit for Christmas, and my parents, but my dad specifically, gets a real kick out of the fact that we've so often done something unique for Christmas dinner. This started when you and I, we weren't even married, right? When we did were we married when we did yeah, because we got married in 97. We lived in a condo in Chicago, and it was the first time we'd ever hosted Christmas. We didn't have any kids, but my sister and her boyfriend, they weren't married yet.
They were newly married.
They were newlyweds. They came, and my parents came. We lived in this little tiny condo in Chicago.
Both of them were ironically moving and in temporary housing and living out of boxes. So we were the home base.
Oh, that's why.
We were the only one that had like a real house with a tree and all not even a house, but a condo. Like, we had our stuff. They were in like an efficiency and a rental apartment. Well,
the little condo we had in Chicago did not have a deck or a patio. It had a fire escape. And I got this is when this started. I got the brilliant idea that we would do a Christmas goose, because I'd never had goose before, and I've always heard talk of Christmas goose, probably because I love A Christmas Carol and Ebenezer Scrooge. And so we were going to cook a Christmas goose on a Weber grill, which is a great idea until you realize how much greasier a goose is than a chicken or a turkey. And oh my God, the fire escape looked like it was on fire. And I think we did have a couple neighbors kind of check in and ask what was going on.
A lot of smoke.
We lived in this little brownstone in Chicago. It's the kind of place where you don't have real accurate control of your own radiator, your own heat unit. So oftentimes, even in the middle of a cold winter, you got a window or two open because it's too damn hot in your place. And so I think us smoking up the fire escape was particularly unwelcome from the neighbors who had their windows open because they were hot inside. Anyway, so that's when it started. And then we, for Christmas after Christmas, did something unique and interesting on Christmas Day for our dinner. The turducken was probably the highlight. I won't go into that whole story, but I will just say briefly that my mother is celiac, can't have gluten, so we couldn't just order a turducken from New Orleans and have it shipped in frozen like 99% of people do from around the world. We had to make our own turducken. That was quite something. But the Cornish game hens are the focus of this story. Again, just trying to be unique and different. Had never had Cornish game hens, looked into it, figured out we could grill them on the charcoal grill indirect heat method, which I had a lot of experience with. But it was particularly cold that Christmas, and I was having a lot of trouble holding the temperature with the indirect charcoal heat method. And the Cornish game hens, they didn't take 10 minutes or a half an hour longer than planned. They took like 3 hours longer than planned. And I think we ended up finishing them in the oven because I just couldn't get it done. And it was early sobriety, and it was completely emasculating. As I said in an earlier story, I had absolutely no self-confidence. And here's the one thing that I'm, at the time, relatively good at, which is grilling. And I couldn't even do that right. And I was getting no shortage of help from my father, who was a gas grill guy and had lots of things to say about how much easier this would be on the gas grill because you could maintain temperature and blah, 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 blah. And so he meant no harm. He was really trying to be helpful. But the weight of it and the weight of my starving family sitting around waiting for dinner that I couldn't produce.
Not starving, just hungry, and they're young and they want to
get going. But see, that's so important. Now that's what I would think. I would think, go get some freaking crackers or eat all the side items.
Yeah,
like
we did.
Ha ha ha! We're gonna have Cornish game hens for lunch tomorrow. Eat something else. Like my attitude now would be so different, Sheri.
Yeah.
But at the time, I felt like I had failed in the most epic fail way that a person could ever fail.
Fail.
I mean, I just felt like the worst human there was. And in the back of my mind in early sobriety was always, oh, and by the way, you also can't drink. So if you're feeling bad about yourself for something family related, for something community related, for something work related, also don't forget the fact that you're basically a fucking leper. You know? You can't do this thing that all the other adults can do.
Because you can't do it right.
Why are you even using the oxygen in this room?
Yeah.
It feels like you don't deserve that.
Yeah.
That's how that feels.
Because you can't even drink right. Like you just
drink right.
Yeah.
Can't do the thing you're trying to do on top of.
Yeah.
Wasn't the sobriety supposed to make you a better man? Well, guess what? You still fucking suck. That's how that feels.
Wow.
Yeah. I wonder what it was like from your perspective to watch me just wither into a puddle of my former self.
It made me very protective of you, and it made me very angry because I feel like there's always this level of trying to please your father that you were trying to accomplish at this point. And so inevitably when you're trying to do something to show that you can do it, it's a failure. Mm-hmm. And this had happened, like it had become a joke.
Yeah.
And you had been the butt of the joke about, dinner for Christmas, we're not going to serve it until, 9:30 at night. So watching that and having comments, because there would be lots of coming in and out of the house and watching the grill, and I could see you being diminished, and it just made me very protective of you, and it made me very angry with the way that there was no empathy or emotional safety that was being given to you. Because I was like feeding the kids like Like, your parents were the one who was like, well, maybe we should hold off on the side items. And I mean, you and I weren't really talking about it, and we were playing games at the table with the kids, and I was giving them snacks and stuff. And so I wasn't as upset and bothered. I just felt very heartbroken for you.
Yeah.
And I wish that I had had more gumption to say to them, like, this is really unkind. Like, we don't need to be making fun of this. This is something that he's putting himself out there doing, and you wouldn't take a chance on doing something that could possibly not work out.
When you say taking a chance, and I did it over and over and over, trying to prepare a food item that I'd never done before, and the trial run was going to be Christmas dinner, kind of high stakes. I mean, not really, but at the time feels like high stakes. Yeah. But the sentiment, the general, like, all the way from my upbringing in my family was, teasing, like, that was a huge part of the vibe. And I've said this before, my sister tended to be more princessified, and I tended to be the guy who got the jokes, got the teasing. And I think to some degree it was a gender thing, and to some degree it was, hey, Matt can take it. He's got a good sense of humor. So I don't think it was evil or cruel, right, but it sure hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for being protective.
Yeah. I mean, because I just thought, wow, he's really putting himself out there, and nobody is recognizing that.
Yeah.
Trying something new and different and fun.
Well, I don't anymore.
Yeah.
I've been cured of that.
Yeah.
You've cured me of my ridiculous obsession with love. Name that movie. Email matt@soberandunashamed.com if you've got it. I love that movie.
Does it have a French
prostitute? Of course. All my favorite things have French prostitutes in them.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Ooh, another Christmassy song. Okay, so Cornish game hen failure. The tent in the middle of the dining room. You got anything, Sheri, from those early sobriety days? Any stories that were...
Well, in those early sobriety days, we had taken on a responsibility through our church of doing something on Christmas morning that was giving back. And I remember when we first approached your parents about this, they were a little confused. Why would we want to disrupt our Christmas morning doing something that was missional and hands-on and took a lot of work? And I don't know if they ever really talked to you about it, but I do feel like there was just some, like, why would you want, it's not that they're opposed to doing missional work or helping others or being generous with their time and money. They just, lots of questions. And I kind of feel like that was one of those situations where I felt a little bit under the microscope, that, like, this is why we're doing this, to show our kids that putting yourselves out there and actually doing the actual physical work of donating and having this, working in this free market on Christmas morning, was really a much better way to show how you can help and be of service to others rather than just writing a check. And I didn't want to throw it back in your parents' face saying, like, because you have the disposable income, that you can really make an impact with some of your financial contributions. And what we're doing is being like the hands and feet of God and doing it. And they're very generous. I just thought they thought it was a little weird that we decided to do this on Christmas morning. Because our youngest kid, who's a sophomore in high school, he was mid-elementary when we started doing this. So Christmas morning was still magical.
Yeah.
But he's a very, like, mature and old soul, that he could see the importance of it. And I think if you're just brought up around it and your parents are doing it, and they had fun being a part of it. And I think that was one of those things. And maybe that was just more maybe that wasn't so much for you, but that was more for me, where I felt like I was being questioned and judged. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm doing something really, really good here. We're doing something really good and remarkable that a lot of people wouldn't be interested in doing. Because we were the ones that were collecting the product and delivering the product. And
I think for me, it was a distraction. I needed Christmas to look different. I needed it not to be the same environment in which we used to drink mimosas and lounge around and then switch to beer. And I needed it to be different. And I needed it to be that way for a while. And it ended up helping me way more than any of the people that we ended up helping.
Yeah. And I think that we all needed it. I think we needed to remember what the holiday really is about and what it's really like to live fully sober and present. And you can see that you can be more open and more compassionate and show more empathy to people that are struggling, and you could really put yourself out there. Because I think that if you had just maintained a level of moderate drinking, we would have never even considered disrupting our Christmas morning to do something like this. It's not that we wouldn't have donated towards the project. We just wouldn't have been the ones that really took this on and took this over.
Well, and what it resulted in our Christmas changing to, yes, there's the actual functional description of what it was we were doing, but it also meant we were going to interact with hundreds of people on Christmas morning. The other volunteers, the recipients, normally for my entire life, the only people I interacted with on Christmas Day were the immediate family members that were sleeping in the same house with me. And so it was a dramatic change. And that leads into the last point I want to make really, really well. I work in the mental health space, so I think about this a lot. I think it's important for us to when we're thinking about early sobriety, holiday seasons, or just early sobriety in general, it's important to let the people replace the alcohol. Every Christmas, drinking or not, there is some big worry. In long-term sobriety like we are now, we had a shitty year. Your cat died, your mom died, we had a gas leak, everybody's got their problems. Yeah. So I don't mean to whine, but it's been a shitty year. And here we are rolling toward it's after Christmas now when this recording will be heard. We're rolling toward the very end of the year, and we got problems. We always have problems. So if you're expecting sobriety to make Christmas perfect, if you're expecting sobriety to make New Year's perfect, it's not gonna. Because you've always got stuff. But and that stuff rotates. The stuff's different every year. And you think you solve this problem and you're like, good, we should be good from now on. No, there's another problem coming. I don't know what it is. Your car's gonna break down. A tree's gonna fall on your roof. I don't know. You're gonna get fired. Somebody's gonna get sick. Something's gonna happen. And so you can't control that, and you don't know what it's gonna be. And if you think you'll get past it and everything will be great, it won't. Something else is coming. But here's what's consistent. The people. So I choose to look at what's different in sobriety at the holidays is instead of focusing on the alcohol, I'm gonna focus on the people. They're the people I love. They're the people I respect. They're people I care for. They're people I want to serve. And I'm going to choose to focus on that instead of my worries. And give my energy to people instead of giving my energy to the thing I can't have, alcohol, or the thing that's dragging me down, whatever the current struggle of the day is. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. I think that's a very impactful soliloquy that you just gave, because it's really about the people and spending your time not worrying about the things you can't have. I mean, I think that's what we all kind of strive for. And it's much easier said than done. But like you mentioned, with that distraction, it really, that next year, Christmas just seemed so much easier because we knew what we were doing. We weren't going to flounder. We weren't going to worry about, the mimosas or the lack of mimosas. Mm-hmm. Like, we knew what we were doing.
Serving people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last thing I want to say, if you're in an early sobriety period, peace should be your only goal. And it should be your only goal for the first several years of sobriety. Don't focus on perfection. Don't think, oh, thank God the alcohol's gone, so everything's going to be perfect. The presents are going to be perfect. The tree's going to be perfect. The music's going to be perfect. I'm going to create, especially, there's a gender component to this, especially for the moms out there. Don't think, finally, I can create this perfect Christmas. That is too much pressure to put on you. You will have triggers. You will have memories that haunt you. You can't do perfect, so don't try. Peace should be the goal. Don't let perfection be the enemy of peacefulness. I think the actual saying is, don't let perfection be the enemy of progress. But when it comes to a relationship that's experienced alcoholism and is now in sobriety, don't let perfection be the enemy of peacefulness. And I know by the time this episode comes out, Christmas will be past, but hey, the triggers of New Year's are still in front of us, so try to have a peaceful New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Thank you for listening to the Untoxicated Podcast. I know you're excited about the new intro and outro music coming in 2026. So be sure to tune in next week. And remember, you've got this and we've got you. And Happy New Year!